Yes, that's what I have been asked. Good morning, good
Good
morning.
morning.
What I've been asked over the Christmas holiday is why? Why, Ilka? Why do you do the Awakened Parent? What is it about? And I love being asked questions because they get me to say that same thing to myself and answer that question. And it's a great question. We thought we'd say it live here on this morning because it's an important one to answer, isn't it?
Yes.
What is the Awakened Parent really all about, Jo?
Well, I say that we help people clear up their own trauma, their own inner wounding, so that they can be the parent that they want to be. And that's the niche that we're in, because we were pretty ordinary at it with really the challenges, and because we cared so much but saw that we could do it better. That's what's led us to this niche. But really it's way bigger than being the parent that you want to be. Like it's stepping into the true you, and we know that the women that are here with us and the men, we're the change makers, the black sheep, the challengers of the status quo.
We are. We're the ones willing to do our inner work. And in my journey of, like, I'll be 50 this year. So in the 50 years that I've been on the planet, the biggest thing that I've always found is it's me that's the problem. It's really, it's a harsh reality to wake up to, but in every relationship that I have, whether it's with my mother, my father, my husband, my children, I'm the common denominator where the problem seems to always go. And it's my belief systems and my thoughts about myself that are causing the issue. When I had small children, I kind of learnt some stuff about this by reading books, and I was reading a lot of the attachment parenting books. I was learning about breastfeeding, co-sleeping. Many of you know I unschooled my children, but in all of that, it came across to me that the mothers that were doing all of those things just must be like, I don't know, they must be some angel from heaven is what it seemed like to me, because and I could not measure up to what my idea of what these mothers must be like, because me every like, I don't know, every 10 minutes really my children were triggering me. And so even though I was reading the books and they were saying you can be this amazing mother, and giving me ways to even, I don't know, all sorts of advice that they were giving me, my triggers and my underlying wounds were still there. So the foundation that I was coming from was not shifting. And when we created the Awakened Parent, that was the thing that I found a tool, and the tool is Faster EFT. You can watch the video with my mentor, Robert G. Smith. And I worked on myself for about 5 years, like coming up to 7 years now, and working with other people. And I found something that really helped me shift the wounding that I'd had as a child myself. Because if you're going to try and breastfeed and do it in an extended period of time, and you think, oh, this is all great, but if this wasn't me, but I don't know if I was extended breastfeed. I think I was breastfed till I was 1 or 18 months or so. But say I'd wanted to do it until my child was 5. It's going to bring up a whole lot of stuff for you. And where do you go to work on? You want to achieve a 5-year of breastfeeding, but you are, not ready to actually step into that person yet. Where do you go to shift the underlying wounds that are there so that you can actually achieve that goal? This is the place, I believe, this is the place to be, because we actually know, and I know, how to shift the stuff. I know how to shift the childhood wounds.
And that
have the techniques to do it.
Yeah, that the answers are within you, but they're a little bit hard to see when you're clouded with your programming and your conditioning. But once you do the work, this is why we don't give parenting advice. If people in other groups ask how to do something around your child, with your child, it's all about for us is to going to the inner work so that you can become clear on your decisions, your choices.
Yeah.
Without the clouding of the what's happened in your own childhood, your conditioning, your subconscious programming.
Yes. And Jo touched on a really important point. Like, what if people say to us, well, you're not really parents anymore. Like, we're not parents of small children anymore. So we can't really go back now and test out the technique if we had small children. Although I did notice a vast difference in myself around my two nephews and my niece and nephew who are younger, who've been staying, and also even the relationship with my adult children is vastly different now. So there's been major shifts in the relationships that I have because of the shifts I've made in myself. But what would you say, Jo, if you were to put yourself back now as a mother, what do you think now with the tools and the techniques that you've got, what do you think life would be like?
There's going to be tears. I'd listen to them. I would listen to them more, and I would calmly ask them questions about what's going on for them instead of just going, well, this is the way we're going to do it. I'd understand that feelings are just as important as solutions, and sometimes just in the listening of someone else's challenge, problem, that's solution enough.
Yeah. And sometimes when people hear outside what we are doing, they can jump to the conclusion, because I heard this in people talking to me over Christmas, that we're kind of like let our kids do whatever they want. It's like I don't know what their perception is, but the thing is that is totally not the case. If you're new to this group and you think this is all about, well, the kid always gets their way or anything like that, or however you want to frame that up, because even by saying the kid gets their way, like that has certain connotations to it, and I would have to ask, well, what does that mean? Like it's that, but really what we're about is if you shift your own triggers, you can stay calm and you can get your needs met, which are just as important as your child's needs. And sometimes they're going to have to be put first, and your child is going to have to understand that your needs have to be put first right now. And that means that they're going to have to, I always believe you can create a win-win somehow. So child might have to put off what they want right there, but you can make something else, or you can do something different. But this requires time. This requires being untriggered. And I wouldn't say that I have perfected this to 100% in every part of my life, even now. But the thing is that I'm aware. And Jo, like, even without going into detail, I mean, you've just had an example with your niece where it probably was something that you absolutely know in the past it would have triggered you.
Oh, yeah.
And you behaved very, very differently.
Yeah, so I walked in and she's on the lounge watching like a series on Netflix that I love, but I reckon it'd be either MA or possibly even R, and there's some very intricate psych stuff in it, but there's lots of drugs, sex, alcohol, crime, jail, all that. And I momentarily went, oh, that's interesting. And then...
Well, what would you have done
in the past? I would have turned it off. I would have probably, what are you doing? What are you watching there? You can't watch that. Like, based on totally my perception of my beliefs around the show, and that they're not appropriate for the child. But sometimes they're just seeing things through their eyes, which are different to ours. So what I did was I noticed that when I walked in, she paused it and she wasn't real comfortable with me being there. So so I took it slowly, but eventually we got around to, I went...
You went and sat outside.
I went and sat outside, and she put it back on, and I thought about it a little while, because I did ask, oh, what do you like about that show? And she went, oh, it's just interesting, and paused it. So then I went outside, thought about it. She put it back on, and I walked back in, and just kind of did my own thing, but then went, I love how intelligent they are. I love how they plan the crimes. And then she opened up and she started telling me what she found interesting. And it wasn't, you know, the things that I was scared about her seeing. It was really cool. But in the past, it would have been just immediately, turn it off. You can't watch that.
Yeah, and so that's a great example of what we're about in this course, and it's your choice. In the end, Jo may have, we're not about saying that you should leave the television on either. It may be your choice in the end, but we would really encourage perhaps to have a conversation with the child, to listen to the child, to understand that their belief systems and what they're seeing is not the same thing as what you're seeing, and you know, to understand them before you connect, before you correct, or
connect before you correct, reach before you teach.
Yes.
There's one more, but I can't remember it.
So that we encourage that, because that where we find that most of the parents in our group, the value in being here is because they so highly value connection with their children. It's pretty well their highest value. When we have a module about values in our group, and that's where it comes out. So this is what Jo was doing there, was just living by her highest value. Now that doesn't mean that in the end they might make a choice to watch something different, or could you get the value that you want, because now you're starting to understand like what she's seeing in this show. Can I find other shows that might be a little bit more appropriate that we could watch together, that we could both enjoy, where there's still the aspects that she likes, because then the child feels heard, child feels seen, child feels all the things that people come to therapy for later in their life, where they didn't feel seen, they didn't feel heard, they didn't feel understood, and that's where all the wounding is, that's where all the pain is, because somebody just came in, just switched the television off, said, I'm in charge of you, you don't have any say in your life, you don't have a voice, you don't matter, you know, this is how we can perceive it.
Yeah.
And Jo is not the only one. I did this many, many times with my kids because I was triggered. I was really triggered a lot of the time. So when I'm talking to mums about what I do, a lot of the time I am saying, look, this is how bad I was. I was triggered a lot of the time. I wasn't present a lot of the time, you know, in my perception of my parenting, and obviously I can pick up on a lot of the bad stuff, perhaps better than the good stuff. But I'm not triggered around telling you all of this now, because it's in the past. I've cleared it. It's not, I don't get bothered by it anymore. I don't even feel shameful about it. I don't feel embarrassed. I just hope that it shows you, we want to say how bad it was for us, so that if you're watching this video, you can have hope that there is a way to shift, you know, triggers, to shift you know, maybe you're like me and every now and again you just explode at your children and you don't know why. That comes from your own childhood wounding, and it can be changed. So that's why we created this group, because even though I was reading all the stuff and I was really interested, and Jo was too, in being the best parent we could be, it was really what we wanted for our children, we felt like there was something missing. There's something missing in the way we weren't able to release the things we needed to release. And
for me, I think it was a lot about control as well. Like when you're trying to control the situation around you, is usually because you're trying to control what's going on inside you, or you're actually totally out of control inside. So I need to keep control of my situation, which takes a lot of effort. Otherwise, I'm going to lose it. I'm going to lose my shit. So I think for my whole parenting time, I'm on a low level of fight, flight, freeze the whole time. And maintaining order, and not giving my family much choice about what they're doing, because I'm in control. But the dangerous thing is that because I'm so triggered and so unaware of it, I actually think I'm helping everyone. I'm helping my children to have great lives. I'm helping my husband. mind all the times that I pick at him for things that he could probably do better. But
we're
it's
just trying to
coming.
help.
It's not coming from a healthy place. It's coming from a place of lack.
Yeah, and feeling out of control and
Yes.
insecure in yourself.
Yes.
So
Yes.
the biggest thing that happens when you start to shift the wounding, you start to change it, and that's through the fast EFT process, which we're not going into in detail this morning. You learn a lot more about that when you take our course. We have like a, I don't know, what is it, 16-page module about what that's all about, how it works, and you get to actually experience it. And thank you, Kristen. She's saying, I am 100% a better parent and human because of my healing with you girls. You are a superstar. You are amazing. It's been absolutely wonderful to work with you and all the beautiful, I can't say thank you and how grateful.
Courageous.
Totally courageous. It's amazing.
We use that word a lot, courageous, and it really, really is, because it's far easier to blame other people.
It is. It's much easier. Some days I still wish I could go back to doing that.
Yeah, it's really, really, when you have to feel your feelings, and for me, because I've been in my head so much the majority of my life, and, you know, I could think my way through everything. Really, it was a diversionary tactic so that I didn't have to feel my feelings.
Yeah, that's it. And so I did write a list last night of all the bad things that and now again, if I read this, it'll sound like I don't mean it, because that's how far I've come. Like, I feel so peaceful most of the time now that you'll go, you won't believe that I had all these things, because when I'm saying it, I'm not going into my wounding when I'm reading it. So just so you understand, like, but this was me, and my mum's on the call. She can probably put a thumbs in there, thumbs up, that I used to do this. Worry all the time, didn't I, Mum? Constant overthinking, anxiety, negative self-talk. Now, Mum might think I didn't actually do a lot of that, because on the outside, I was very good at, you know, being this persona, being this person who was, I just learnt the skill of kind of people pleasing, really, getting along with people, and like Jo always says, smiling on the outside, yeah, and then going home and crying.
Yeah. Run to the bathroom.
I had arguments with my partner. Yeah, Mum can definitely attest to that one. Bickering a lot with my partner. Mum would often come to our house and go, oh, I think I'll go home now. Because I've started another argument. And it was usually me starting them. Not knowing how to speak up for myself, chronic people pleasing and extreme guilt. No idea what happiness felt like. Like, when someone asked me this the other day, they're like, well, what is happiness? And I said, look, I didn't actually know what happiness was. Like, if someone said to me I was happy, like, I have memories of feeling happy, like when I was in the sandpit as a kid, on the monkey bars as a kid, like outside, having fun. So that would be what I would tell you. Like, oh, isn't that like climbing a tree? That's probably happiness for me.
I've got to interrupt, because I remember going to a hypnotherapist when I was early 20s, and she said, okay, tell me about a happy time in your childhood. Couldn't speak, but because I couldn't come up with one, and she said, oh, that's okay, we'll, you know, and we moved on to something else. And that's not to say that I didn't have happy memories, but they were locked deep underneath conditioning, trauma and pain that I needed to go in and release. Yes,
for sure. And that is such a good point. Like, when you release a lot of this stuff, like, a lot of the good memories start coming flooding back, and really there were a lot. Yes. My mum's watching too, so yes, Mum, we did have a happy time. Like, there were times, definitely. We laughed, we did fun things.
I remember I used to think, you know, when I'd talk about my parents going, oh yeah, they didn't do much for me, and then I was telling Ilka about one time, this is recently, when I used to go to long basketball trips, and someone had to drive us, and she said, oh, who'd drive you? And I went, oh, my parents. You know, the happy memories do come back.
Yeah, and this is how the brain works, which is something that we also learn through the course. And it's great to be in a community of people that really understand this is how your brain works. Your brain is about survival, so it remembers the crappy shit first. Like that's just how it works. I was asked what's the best thing about myself. I responded,
This is Kristen.
my eyelashes.
Yeah.
Oh, how far I've come! Yay!
Oh, okay.
Yes,
Okay.
yes. So yeah, there was lots and lots of things. I felt like extremely anxious. This is funny. My mum will laugh at this because I hardly ever clean anymore. Right? I'm so busy doing this business and tapping with people and like just living my life that cleaning's kind of gone to the bottom of the list. And you know, I do it, but it's not a priority at all. But I used to feel really, really anxious if my house wasn't clean and tidy. Like I can remember going to leave the house and like walking back in to straighten a cushion. Like this is sometimes how OCD I could get. I know,
Yeah.
Joe can't even believe that because the last 5 years since I've been tapping on myself, that's really fallen away for me. I'm just so peaceful around. The dishes are on the sink, I'll get to them. You know, my washing's piled up in my bedroom. I'll get to it. I do it once a week now pretty well. And
No,
this is not a problem for me.
I believe it because I did the same thing.
Yeah.
Especially if I knew people were coming over.
Yeah, and of course that was something that was a really high priority. So here I was trying to connect with my children, but keeping the house tidy was such a high priority, and it had so much like space in my head that I would often be yelling at my children because they mucked up the cushion on the couch. I just want to say these things because if you're new to this group and you think that Joe and I don't understand some of the places you might be coming from, because now we're pretty chilled. We do Facebook Lives, another thing we couldn't do because we're so afraid of judgment. But it's just been such a big curve, and I have to actually remember like how bad I was to kind of go far out, and like Kristen's saying, you know, look how far I've come, and that's what we get from all the mums doing our course. In a short space of time, you know, I changed 40 years of my programming, which is pretty phenomenal. So it shows the power of what we do.
At Christmas time, I was talking to one of my cousins I rarely see, and occasionally I would run into them at the races like years ago. And we were laughing, and he said to me, oh yeah, when I used to run into you, like you had your nose up in the air, like you didn't even want to talk to me. And we cracked up and I said, well, that's just because I had to protect this persona that I was putting out there. I couldn't show the real me. I would have been totally rejected and hated and cursed and
Yeah. So what are some of the big things for you, Joe, that you were carrying around that you really aren't not carrying around anymore?
Oh, big shame and guilt about who I was in my younger years, and that really sucks for most of us. Underneath the inability to show up in the world as who we really are, it's shame and guilt about something, and that was it. And I seriously carried it until I was 47 inside the room of an EFT practitioner when I went in complaining about other people, and she said, Joe, you need to talk about you. And I got very angry with her, which was brilliant because now I know that, you know, anger is an opportunity for healing. And it was really cool to have someone like that call me out on my bullshit, but be there with me to get through to the other side of it, because inside those sessions there was lots of anger, lots of tears, and I had been to hypnotherapists, counsellors, psychologists since I was 17. So, and that was when I was 47 with her, so 30 years.
Yeah. And I had done all sorts of things, like kind of on the other, like controlling my life through food, through just kind of addictions to health. So addictions to, you know, running, addictions to exercise. Like I kind of did it in a different way, but it was all about trying to control myself and trying to make myself better, but nothing changed inside. And often I would get worse trying to do these things. So what we help you to do is shift what's going on up in here.
Yeah.
And I mean, the beautiful thing for me is, and I'm sure this is true of you too, Jo, is like, it's useful. It's actually useful now that I experienced all of those things, because I really do get where you're coming from. When you come to me and you say, oh, I couldn't control myself that day. And I feel so privileged that I am sometimes on calls where mothers are being triggered right in front of me. Things are happening where they're just being triggered, and I feel very, very honored that you feel safe and trust me enough to be there with you. And because I've been you. And if I know, like, every single day I was getting triggered all the time. I was yelling at my kids. There is absolutely, like, I'm just watching you in awe that you're showing up on a call to help yourself shift your triggers, whilst, and as I've said, I think in a couple of Facebook Lives back, we talked about this, and how you're also coming into a group of women. I mean, it's wonderful, because maybe for the first time in your life you're finding people who actually get you, but it's still scary in the beginning because you don't know who they're going to be in the beginning. But I love that also we're excited to kind of bring more of this year, and have even more people join up for our courses and be on our calls, because you get to meet women who are doing this work. And it's just a whole new conversation. It's a whole new way of being, and it's like I think for many of you, it's I found my tribe. That's how we hope it is for you all. Yeah, and we get told these things as well.
Yeah.
Post lots of nice things to us. So we really, really appreciate you, Kristen, and everyone that's in our group. I won't start naming you all because I might miss some people out. But yeah.
And really, part of the reason we created this group is because it's something that we could have really, really benefited from years ago when we were parents, when we were seeking and knew that there had to be a better way, an easier way. Life had to be easier.
Yes. And we don't often talk about some of the other extracurricular things, but I'm going to go there anyway. We also talk a lot in our TAP commune about a thing called human design, and that is like an astrological chart. So we go a little bit woo-woo sometimes. We have some real experts that come in and talk to us about these things. And the thing that Jo and I both have in our human design is a 5-line. And that means we're kind of hell-bent on changing the status quo, changing the world. It really lights us up inside. Like, really, I love, this is what I love to do more than anything else in the world. And and I'm just so grateful that we have this group, and we've got more and more people coming in that want to do this work too, because I truly believe, as I said, after my 50 years here on the planet, the only thing that you can change is you. So this is the most important work you can do, and for any relationship that you're in. And Jo and I are just built to do this. That's what I'm a 2-5 profile in human design, and we can bring some of that. If you'd like some more information about that, you can put yes in the comments. And Jo is a 5-1.
Which is more of a, we work really well together, because I'm more of a researcher, and Ilka's more of the people person, and working with the one-on-one and with small groups. It's really awesome. So we feel like we've kind of found our place and what we're here to do, and we're just, again, grateful that you're all here with us. And give us a thumbs up, like this video so people come and watch it, and we'll be looking forward to bringing you many more over 2021. Yes, we will. Woohoo. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
Have a great week. Bye.
Bye.